Hey friends, welcome to our Sunday Devo, sponsored by our good friends at the Vine Grove United Methodist Church. Thanks so much for giving us a couple of minutes of your day today. Well, here's an interesting thing that's happened to me. My computer, for the second time in 1 year, has crashed, and that means that the things I had planned, I've not been able to work on. But that's okay because I've always come up with a few things that I can do for Sunday Devo. But then, as it turns out, as I'm getting ready to do that, I've kind of gotten feeling worse and worse. And it's just like all of us have had allergies or colds or things like that. Then your head starts pounding and feel a little bit queasy inside your stomach and stuff like that. And, well, then that's hit. And I'm sitting there going, man, I'm not sure I can do this. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe this is the perfect time to try to do this. And I say that because as I have kind of tired eyes and a little bit of nausea and a headache and all this, it's like, have we ever stopped to consider that there are just times where we may not have hardly anything to give? We may feel miserable in who we are. And those are the times maybe where we need Jesus the most, that we need to be at the feet of Jesus the most, that we need to find ways to let Jesus work in us the most. I thought that maybe that's kind of important to think about, because if you don't always have your A game, that doesn't mean you just don't show up. I think sometimes that means that you show up because Jesus is not just demanding work from us. Jesus is always looking to feed us and help our soul. And, that's so important. In fact, just to be honest, I think there are times where maybe, just maybe, the most important thing we can remember is that when we're at our lowest, we don't feel like we have anything to give, maybe that's the time where we need to receive something from the Master. Maybe we receive Sabbath. Maybe we receive energy. Maybe we receive assurance. Maybe we receive hope. Maybe we receive forgiveness. The life is so much about a breath process. I taught this recently in a class for lay speakers where I said, spirituality can be defined as breathing in the love of God so that we can breathe out God's love and work into the world. But a breath process doesn't mean that we just breathe out the work. We have to sometimes breathe in the essence of Jesus. And sometimes when we are at our weakest and hurting the most, maybe where we're sick or feeling poor or discouraged, that's where we need to just breathe in the presence of God, breathe in the grace of God, breathe in the forgiveness of God, breathe in the assurance of God. That's so, so important. And, there's so many examples of Scripture I could give you of that. I mean, one really good example is Luke 10, verse 38 through 42, when Mary was just sitting at the feet of Jesus. And Martha thought she should be working, but she was just basically breathing in the instruction of Jesus, the love of Jesus in the moment. And Jesus said, let her. Maybe in this moment, that's what she needs. Maybe it's not about the work, exhale. Maybe it's the taking in the presence of God, the inhale. I think we all sometimes need to remind ourselves of that. Because if we don't have that balance, we either overwork, which exhausts ourselves because we're not getting life-giving oxygen, life-giving spirit inside of us. Or we can get too selfish on the other end and we try to breathe in all about getting the thrill of God or the excitement of God or the buzz of spirituality and not the responsibility. See, that's why Sabbath ends up being important. That's why we need times to feed and times to work. And sometimes when we're not feeling good, maybe the best thing we do is just to show up. And when I say show up, I mean we don't necessarily have a whole lot to give, but just the fact that we show up means that we can be present for Jesus to work in us. And I'm really encouraged that when it comes to church, for example, because let me just be honest with you. I've been in ministry for 30 years. I've heard every single excuse under the sun why people won't show up for church. And here's the irony. If it's because you're feeling weak or because you're feeling tired or because you're feeling discouraged or because you're just feeling down or just because you're not feeling it, that's really when you want to go to church. That's when you want to try to find some way to allow Jesus and Jesus' assurance, Jesus' love, Jesus' strength and goodness and forgiveness and mercy to breathe inside of you, to recharge you, to strengthen you, to give you this new opportunities in life. So sometimes that's when we just need to show up. Another really good example of that is Luke 19, because you know what? Here was someone that, his name is Zacchaeus, who did not give his A game hardly at all in his life. He was brand new at this Jesus thing. And many of the things he had done in this past were not very savory. So I don't even know if you could call him a C student or a D student. It wasn't a very good student. He was certainly doing things he shouldn't do. And why would Jesus want to spend time with him? Except for the fact that he realized that maybe what Zacchaeus needed to do was to breathe in that presence of God. And if he just had that chance to do that, then maybe all of a sudden that D and F behavior turns into A and B level work for the kingdom. And I think you kind of get the idea of where I'm coming from. But let me just simply say, sometimes we just don't have it. We just don't feel it. It's just not there. Jesus talked about that. Matthew chapter 13, where he said sometimes people will be like a seed that's sowed on rocky ground. And sometimes if we just don't bury those roots deep enough, we'll just kind of lose ourselves to the winds of the world. And that's why maybe we need to figure out, when we're not feeling it, how well are we anchoring into the soil of God? How well are we anchoring with the nourishment of God, the sunlight of God, the nourishment of God, the nurturing of God, the possibilities of God? It's going to depend on us, because God's given us a choice. How we're going to live this life. What are you going to choose? Are you going to just say, well, I don't feel it, so I guess I won't show up? Or will you instead say, you know what, I may not feel it, but I'll do everything I can to show up, to be at the feet of Jesus. And maybe I won't get in the game, but maybe I'll just sit there and soak and breathe in what Jesus has to share with me. Because maybe what he has to say to me can be life-changing and world-transforming. And sometimes it can make you feel better. I've known a lot of people that didn't go to church because they just didn't feel it. And then it's interesting, because once they got to church, they realized, you know what, I don't know why I was thinking about not coming. But now that I came, I'm so glad I did. Because sometimes all we need is a little bit of fresh air to breathe in. Recognize that God is always working in our betterment. And if we'll just breathe in his presence, and we'll breathe in sometimes his healing and his forgiveness and his wisdom, we can start feeling better, and maybe a lot quicker than we think. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go for right now, see if I can get rid of this headache and some of this other stuff that's going on. But I thank you so much for your time, and thanks for listening for these couple of minutes here today. And sorry for the venue and all that. Maybe we'll be back to normal next week if the computer gets fixed. But if not, just know, good Lord has always something to say to us. And if we bring it, just bring ourselves to the presence of Jesus, we might just be surprised what good things await. Friends, have a great week. Look forward to hopefully seeing you at church, and hope to see you around soon. And until next time, take care. Blessings.